I only buy stocks that are down, related to assets. If the stock goes up, you don't see me around, because there's no bargain, and I only buy a bargain.
And now we have a profile about business. Carl Icahn is back in the news. Icahn is the man who's been changing the face of American business with his threatened or actual takeovers of dozens of companies. Recently, he arranged a blockbuster deal to take over Trans World Airlines. The price is now close to $1 billion, which he's still raising. This week, he was reported out scouting for another $500 million, perhaps to finance further acquisitions. Carl Icahn is not an easy man to get near. He rarely gives interviews, none that we know of on national television. But correspondent June Massell got Icahn to talk for this NewsHour profile.
JF gave me this toy plane to commemorate the TWA deal.
I don't know what the future holds, but I'm sure it's going to be a fast-moving future with Icahn at the helm. Things are going to happen that before never would have happened in this airline.
Icahn is the most worthy adversary I think I've ever faced. The man's business is taking over companies. He works very, very hard at it, and he's very, very good at it.
I was once the rich uncle, now he's the rich nephew.
Elliot Schnall, known as Uncle Elliot, helped Carl Icahn get started. In 1968, he loaned Icahn $400,000 so he could buy a seat on the New York Stock Exchange. Icahn began with options and arbitrage. Then in 1979, he had a new idea, takeovers. He told Uncle Elliot he was going to start going after undervalued companies.
I thought he was crazy. I said, well, what do you know about undervalued companies? He says, look, I'm going to do it. I said, Carl, forget it. I think that you're taking too many risks. And Carl said, in risk there is reward. And I'm going to do it.
Well, he's told me I was crazy a lot of times in my life, so he's been wrong a lot of times. He told me I was crazy, so I wasn't too dismayed by that.
Uncle Elliot soon changed his tune. He's been investing with Icahn ever since. Today, a wall in Icahn's office is covered with the annual reports of target companies Icahn & Company has gone after. Most of the targets fought back, either finding a more friendly suitor to merge with or paying Icahn to go away, buying back his stock at a premium price. That's called greenmail, and Icahn has been widely criticized for it.
This is another horror story from a client at TWA.
But Icahn and others on Wall Street say he hasn't accepted greenmail in a while. And Icahn maintains he never asked for it, management offered. Plus, he says other stockholders sometimes benefited as well. He has a favorite story about a meeting he had with executives of a company he was buying stock in.
And the investment banker said, come on outside, Carl. So I come outside with him and said, look, he said, they don't like you at all. If you start buying more stock, we're going to dilute the hell out of you. I said, now on the other side of the coin, we'll give you don't have the stock too long, we'll give you a $10 million profit to walk away. He looks at me and says, do you want some time to think about it? I said, no, I'll take the $10 million.
Icahn & Company has accumulated enough capital now that they don't have to sell back. Icahn's senior vice president, Al Kingsley, is constantly on the lookout for new deals. Somewhere under all this paper sits the germ of a new idea. The Icahn strategy is to look for undervalued stocks, stocks that sell below the true value of the company.
I only buy stocks that are down, related to assets. If the stock goes up, you don't see me around, because there's no bargain, and I only buy a bargain.
While Icahn has waged many hostile takeover battles, he's only actually taken control 3 times. But in all cases, his company has made money, as much as $25 million on a deal. The first target Icahn went after was Tappan Stove. That same year, 1979, he bought his first small company, Bayswater Realty. Next came a series of lawsuits and raids on some big names, like Marshall Field, Hammermill Paper, Dan River, and American Can. In 1984, he bought his second company, ACF, a Fortune 500 railroad car manufacturing and leasing firm. After that, more takeover battles for Phillips Petroleum, Uniroyal, and TWA. In September of '85, he signed his third merger agreement with TWA. Ironically, just 1 year earlier, TWA's in-house magazine ran a story called Who's Afraid of Carl Icahn? Apparently, they found out. TWA is Icahn's biggest coup. It's the largest international airline serving the North Atlantic. And taking it over helps Icahn change his image from being primarily a speculator in companies to someone who actually buys them.
I think his reputation on one level certainly has improved. I think more people see him as a man of his word and as a credible acquirer of companies than perhaps they did a year ago. He has to be considered as a true takeover threat.
Michael Zimmerman is a partner at Solomon Brothers, a New York investment banking firm. He's worked on hundreds of takeover deals and recently represented TWA's management against Icahn.
Of the people in his business, the people who are in the business of taking over companies, there's no one who is more persistent and more determined in what they do than he is.
But determination was only part of it. Icahn managed to get something TWA's management could not get: labor concessions. The unions, pilots and machinists, agreed to approximately 20% in salary cuts in exchange for a small piece of the company if Icahn took over. They wanted Icahn to come in because TWA had announced a merger with Texas Air President Frank Lorenzo. Lorenzo was known for being tough on unions.
I think Icahn's done everything he told us he would do. He's never reneged on anything he said he'd do. And he's a breath of fresh air, you see, in the business for us.
I really believe that one of the problems in the industry is, and TWA is guilty of this, was guilty of this, that the real high echelon of management, the real top management, don't get into the pits and sit down with these guys and negotiate with them.
Icahn spent the summer in negotiations, frequently on weekends and frequently till 6 o'clock in the morning. While investment bankers and lawyers were with him, advising him, Icahn believes his presence kept negotiations going.
And if I weren't there to say, wait a minute, fellas, and I go to my lawyers and say, hey, fellas, then come on. This is childish. Will you sit down? I'm paying your bill. Will you get down here? The lawyers say, okay, Carl, sure. And then I go and I see the pilots, and I say, come on, you're being childish. So you said the lawyer said this and you said that because, you know, you're working for 18 hours at a time. Feelings get high. But obviously I had a lot riding on this because I wanted to do it.
One man who didn't want Icahn to do it was Ed Meyer, former president of TWA.
Carl Icahn had 17 or 18 practice runs before he started in on us. And so it's a very unsettling thing. It's a very time-consuming. It's very emotional, without a doubt. And at the same time, you're trying to run a company. So it's a difficult thing to go through.
Good afternoon, Icahn & Company.
Despite the emotional difficulties for the management in charge, Icahn says he's helping the real owners of the company, the shareholders, by driving the price of the stock up.
When we bought TWA, started buying it less than a year ago, the stock was 8. We're ending up paying 24 for it. They tripled the value when we from the time we started buying, so I think the shareholders love the situation.
On Bruce's immediate left is Robin Hood. I'm sorry, Carl Icahn.
I never said I was Robin.
You hear that? He never said he was Robin Hood.
Last spring, at a seminar on hostile takeovers for the legal community, Icahn got a chance to explain his takeover philosophy. He believes that corporate America should be shaken up, that most companies are poorly managed and have too much bureaucracy, and that frequently accounts for low stock prices.
Why is there the great divergence between real value of a company and what it's selling for? Ask yourself, why will somebody be willing to pay $60 for a Phillips Petroleum without management, but only $35 with management? What does it say about management? It's sort of simple. A corporation plus management is worth half of what a corporation is worth without management.
Icahn also attacks what he calls the corporate culture, with its perks of jet planes, golf courses, and high salaries.
An aristocracy is written in this country. It's a corporate aristocracy. Once a man gets to be at the level, gets to be in the corporate suite, it's sort of a nirvana for him. If you try to meet one of these guys, hey, I'll be out of pocket for the next 3 days. I'll be out of pocket. I don't know where they go when they're out of pocket, but they're always out of pocket.
Icahn, who is known for being very witty, first complains about executives on golf courses, then switches gears and suggests that maybe it's not a bad idea if they stay there. He further amused his audience with humorous anecdotes to support his thesis. He loves to tell a story about the blunders of a major Park Avenue company.
A real estate agent who I'm friends with told me incredulously, he said, you know, up on the 30th floor, they have a women's gymnasium. And I said, well, that's sort of lousy. He said, you know, they spend $100 a foot to have a whole floor that's a women's gymnasium. This is a true story. And I said to him, well, you know, it doesn't sound too good, but what the hell, they all do that. He says, no, the point is they have no women up there, okay? He said they did it.
Not everyone finds Icahn amusing. Andy Siegler is a spokesman for the Business Roundtable, an association of major American corporations, and the chairman of one of them, Champion International.
I'm sure somewhere there is someone that's playing too much golf. But the work ethic and the performance ethic and the pressure to perform in our economic system is very, very, very high. To say that we're all stupid, that we're out messing around, and that these particular individuals who have had absolutely no experience whatsoever of running things, I'm not talking about investing and making judgments, but running things, are making judgments that the company, the management of the larger companies in this country are, is just crazy.
Ed Meyer, the former president of TWA, thinks Icahn's philosophy is a disguise for more fundamental motivations.
He's not interested in managing. He's not interested in reforming managers. He's interested in making money. You can tell he likes the game he plays. He's interested in it for that.
Part of my values is to make money, and I can't change my values. I mean, some people love art, you know, love to paint. If a great painter loves to paint, well, you can't, what do, criticize him because he likes to paint? Well, hell, I was born up with my values to make money. But what makes me happy or fulfilled about it is that I also believe that I'm making money but doing the right thing. Hey, how you doing? How are you?
Icahn is a wealthy man today. He won't say what he's worth, but some estimate it's in the hundreds of millions.
Well, you ready to hit a few, Peter? Sure.
He lives on a large estate in a New York suburb and sometimes finds the time to play tennis at home with a friend. The only child of a middle-class family, Icahn did not always enjoy such prosperity. Growing up, there were no private tennis courts or English gardens to walk through.
Icahn grew up in New York, here in the Bayswater section of Queens, geographically a short distance from Wall Street, but psychologically a totally different world. Neither of Icahn's parents was involved in the world of business or finance.
Icahn's mother was a school teacher. His father, a lawyer and a cantor, never accomplished his real goal in life, to become a Metropolitan Opera singer. But he gave his son piano lessons, and Icahn inherited his father's love for classical music. Icahn spends many hours in his home office working and listening to music. In college, at Princeton, he was a philosophy major and won a prize for the best senior thesis, a complex work on the empiricist criterion of meaning, something Icahn says he could never understand today.
What do you think's more complicated, this or putting together a TWA deal?
Well, I got to tell you, looking at this, I think this is...
Icahn was supposed to be a doctor, but he dropped out of medical school after 2 years and headed for Wall Street instead.
What did your mother say when you dropped out of medical school? Was she disappointed?
That's just a euphemism. I would say you're putting it euphemistically.
What did she say?
Well, you know, you needn't come home anymore. You made the great mistake of your life.
Icahn's mother is proud of him today, but Icahn feels his late father, a champion of the lower classes, might have some reservations.
He would love that I'm shaking up the establishment. Love that. I mean, maybe he would say, well, what are you making all the money for? You know, he might object to the fact that you have more money than a lot of other people.
Icahn's wife is a former ballerina from Czechoslovakia. She wishes her husband would slow down instead of going from one deal to the next.
Sometimes I feel there is no reason he really should work anymore. But then, where is he going to go from here? It's you know, regular family. The husband works, and there's always something, at least financially, to look forward. They're building. I mean, here it's not. I mean. How much more if he makes, it's not going to make any difference. The point is that he doesn't need any more money. But it's the game, as he says.
What do you need this for?
Well, it's a good question. It's a good question.
What do you think the answer is?
Well, it's like in a game. I mean, the money is like the chips or the points or something. I think it's not just the money. No, it's part of the game. But you sort of really are, in a sense, fighting a very strong establishment.
And it becomes exhilarating to see if you can outmaneuver them.